The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. As the people were filled with expectation, and all were questioning in their hearts concerning John, whether he might be the Messiah, John answered all of them by saying, I baptize you with water, but one who is more powerful than I is coming. I am not worthy to untie the thong of his sandals. He will baptize you with the Holy Spirit and with fire. Now when all the people were baptized, and when Jesus also had been baptized and was praying, the heavens was open, and the Holy Spirit descended upon him in bodily form, like a dove. And a voice came from heaven, You are my Son, the Beloved. With you I am well pleased. The Gospel of the Lord.
Our celebrations today, brothers and sisters, brings our Christmas season to an end. And as we've mentioned a few times during our Masses this week, it's a wonderful opportunity for all of us just to take a moment to recollect the blessings and the graces that the Lord has given to us in the season, and to give thanks for that, because these are things that are very special for us in our lives. And the time of preparation for this feast day as well, and for the feast day of Christmas, and then the subsequent celebrations and liturgies that we've had subsequently are things that just continue to add to the beauty of what we've celebrated. So hold those in our hearts and give thanks to the Lord for these graces. And as we begin and come to an end today, we'll be beginning our ordinary time tomorrow morning, and next Sunday we'll be starting our cycle of readings from the Gospel of Luke, and that will be something to carry us through the rest of the year for the most part. Today, after 30 years of obscurity and silence and quiet, Jesus comes to the Jordan, and something takes place that initiates something and changes that quiet and that secret aspect of his existence and of his life. And in the midst of this baptism that John has already preached and prepared the people for, and that the Lord has prepared the people for with that fervent sense that they're waiting for a Messiah to come, which we've all celebrated during the beginning of our Advent season, that's something that still exists, especially at this time of the baptism of the Lord. From this event, Jesus will be driven by the Holy Spirit into the desert for 40 days and 40 nights. And that's the theme we pick up immediately when we begin Lent. But that's the succession and chronology of the episodes of the Gospels for us. Upon his return from the temptation in the desert, then he begins his public ministry and begins to speak the words of the gospel that are present for us, and to perform the acts and the miracles and the healing and the acts of power of God that allow the people slowly, but with firm faith, to come to a belief in who he is. And it won't come to its maturity until the Holy Spirit is sent upon the church, and they share as we share this remarkable faith that is given to us and has been passed on for so many generations for us. But this begins it today with the baptism, because it makes it an event and a celebration that we have in which the Trinity itself makes itself evident and makes itself present in the hearts of people and what they see and hear. And they see in this person who is baptized someone different than the baptism that has taken place in all the other people. And a recognition that something will take place in baptism that will be different now. Not just a baptism, as John has identified, of forgiveness, but now a baptism in which the person is filled and their soul is filled with the Holy Spirit and with fire, and presents to them an invitation which we'll reflect upon very briefly here this morning. The very beginning of our Advent season this year, we concentrated a little bit on that wonderful message that was brought and given to the Blessed Mother as Jesus was conceived in her womb. And that conception was a mark, especially in Mary, of something that she had been prepared for that was now given. She was one who was favored, and the favor of the Lord rested upon her. And we reflected on that wonderful mystery, that one who had been chosen and set aside from the difficulties and the sinfulness of our condition had been set aside for that reason, and had been set aside with a special grace and with a special favor that the Lord had given. And there was a promise there, especially in the choirs of angels that spoke to the shepherds on Christmas night, that that favor would be shared with all of humanity and with all the nations. But we see the means in which that takes place today as we see the baptism of Jesus. We see the sanctification of the waters and the institution of baptism itself, of the Spirit and of fire in the people's lives, and we begin to understand the profound nature of the baptism that all of us share, of being baptized into this Christ who enjoys the greatest of possible favor in the eyes of the Father. And those are the words that we hear descending upon Jesus today as the Father, in the mystery of the Trinity itself, speaks of the favor that the Son has in his heart and in his mind, and the ability through us for baptism, each one of us baptized into Christ, to share in the favor that the Father bestows upon humanity now. We begin to see the remarkable plan that God has, as we've been reflecting upon all through Christmas, of presenting something and an invitation to humanity which is beyond all comprehension and beyond even the wildest imagination of just returning to a Garden of Eden which had been lost by humanity and sinfulness. Now something even greater is given. The favor of being seen in the same light, the same eyes, the same love that the Father has for his Son, and it will be exhibited in all the events of Jesus' life to allow us to appreciate who he is and the favor that the Lord has bestowed upon him, so that we can share in the same thing. As we begin that, just as we begin this season, this is the last moment in which to reflect upon this remarkable gift that the Lord gives to us in the birth of his Son. And then very soon, we'll have the task of listening to his words Sunday after Sunday as he presents and preaches the gospel to many people in the midst of the mystery and the parables that are required for these weak human minds and hearts to appreciate the message of the gospel. And we will see the signs of how much he loves us, to the point of giving his life for us in the death of the cross. Remarkable power of the resurrection, and then the Holy Spirit shed upon the church, which gives us this great grace to enter into baptism and to live the life of baptism which all of us share. This is the great invitation for us today, a remarkable reason for us to be in wonder and to give thanks to the Lord for his great graces for us in this season and on this wonderful day that marks the importance and beauty of our baptismal call.